friends, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to day 8 of Bookmas. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my October and November wrap up. So all of the books that I read in October and all of the books that I read in November. I honestly feel like both October and November were a really good reading month for me. In November, I actually completed my monthly TBR. I didn't complete my monthly TBR in October, but I did get really close. So real quick, let's go over the stats for my October reads, and then we'll jump into my thoughts and feelings on these books. So in October, I ended up reading 6 books, 3 of which were fantasy, 2 of which were romance, and then I read 1 fiction book. So let's go ahead and talk about the books that I don't own first, because there was 2 books that I read that were either an ARC or I read on Kindle. And the first book I want to talk about is Fall Out Once by Nora Everly, and it is a small town standalone book. I really enjoyed it. It has single dad, firefighter, and our main female character, she has moved back in order to help her grandma with her cafe shop because her grandma has an injury, and she plans on leaving once her grandma is better, but she ends up like actually falling in love with the town and having to make a tough decision. So I really enjoyed that book. The romance was really cute. The banter was really cute. It was such a good fall read as well. So I ended up giving that book 4 stars. The book that I read on Kindle Unlimited was Atonement of the Spine Cleaver by Effie Bryce. I actually read this book for a recent reading vlog where I read my TikTok followers' favorite books, and I honestly wasn't disappointed. Basically, this book is about Rorax, who is known as the Spine Cleaver because she's very powerful and a good fighter, and she actually took out like a lot of the city, and she's the one who is competing in the trials that are taking place. She feels like she's not worthy of these trials because of all of the stuff that she's done in the past. She feels like she shouldn't be the next guardian of these realms, but at the same time she's also like searching for a way out of the trials so that she can get out of the trials and go look for her brother who's been like imprisoned. So we're kind of following a lot of different storylines. I think there's like a bunch of people that we're following. It's a little hard to keep up with at first, but then it kind of all just really connects into one story, and it is so good and it is done so well. And then we also have lots of banter, a little bit of enemies to lovers. Overall, it was a really good fantasy book, and I definitely would want to continue that series at some point, but I ended up giving that book 4 stars. And then I read Releasing 10 by Chloe Walsh, and this was honestly a big disappointment for me. I just did not connect to these characters or the storyline whatsoever. I honestly didn't like Lizzie before this book, but this book really just kind of solidified how much I don't like her character or her story. So I ended up giving this book 2.5 stars. And then I read The Stars Are Dying by Chloe Penaranda, and I actually really loved this book. I think I ended up giving it 5 stars. I just really enjoyed the characters and like the overall story progression. I also really liked the way that the romance was done. I feel like it was done in such a unique and creative way, and I haven't really seen that done in a lot of books. I really enjoyed the romance in this book. But basically, we're following Estrella, who is kind of being held captive by this man who claims to be her lover, and she takes the chance to escape with her friend to go to the trials. And the trials are to prove that like the humans are worthy of their kingdom being protected from like the outside creatures. There's lots of like vampires. There's lots of different types of vampires, and that's what the trials are for, to keep them protected from the vampires. So Estrella tries to escape with her friend to go to these trials, and it's a really cool journey from there. Really interesting, really unique. I really enjoyed this one, and I thought the writing was really good. It definitely kept me like in the moment with the book, which I love that. So I actually ended up giving this book 5 stars. And then we have The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic. In this book, our main character has a curse where if she gets her heart broken 4 times, her magic will like disappear. I honestly just thought it was kind of drawn out and kind of just running in circles throughout this whole book. I honestly just didn't connect to it that much, and it wasn't anything special for me. It was very fall vibes, I'll give it that, but other than that, I didn't really enjoy it that much. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. And then I read 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I thought this book was really interesting, however I just did not connect to the characters and the plot. I did enjoy the little subplot of romance that was like towards the end of the book. I wasn't expecting that whatsoever, and I really enjoyed that part. However, it was very drawn out and I feel like it could have been done in a lot shorter of a way because there was a lot of times where I was getting bored because we were just running through like his day-to-day life. I got bored with that. Other than that though, I love the time travel aspect. I love getting to see him live in the past and like all the descriptions of stuff that's like prevalent to that era. I thought that was really interesting. I enjoyed the overall story, but I did get bored quite often, and I feel like the writing kind of just went off on a lot of tangents, like stuff that didn't need to be talked about, and just like filler paragraphs, like going off on stuff that's not important to the overall storyline. So that was my biggest issue with it, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. Those are the 6 books that I read in October. Now let's go ahead and jump into the 6 books that I read in November. Next book I want to talk about is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This may be like one of my favorite fantasy books I have ever read. It's told in like a framed narrative where our main character is actually telling a story of his past life, but the way that this book transports you into this whole different story is so good. I loved the writing in this book. I found it to be so immersive and just so different. Like I really enjoyed this book. It's a longer one, but like it is so worth like every page. There wasn't very many like filler scenes of just like sitting around talking, doing nothing. Like the story progression was so good. The connections from like the beginning to the end, so good. I really enjoyed this book. I really want to read the next book as well. It is a 5-star read for me. And then I have An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. I also really enjoyed this book as well. I recently just finished this one, but we are following Leia, who is a slave for the commandment, but she's also a spy for the resistance. They kind of like sold her to the academy under the guise of a slave, but she's working as a spy for the resistance. But she can be reprimanded for literally any small thing that she does wrong, and like that can be from like beatings to like physical harm and like whatever. So it felt very high stakes because she could literally be beat for anything, and she's supposed to be spying on the commandment and getting like details of the trials and everything. And then we're also following Elias, who is a soldier or a student for this Blackcliff Academy, and he's participating in these trials. However, he does not agree with the way of the academy and the marshals and like the way that they are so ruthless. He was actually like wanting to leave, but they're punished for leaving. So his story is also very high stakes because he wants to leave, and there's people around who can like read your mind, and if you have any doubts about their mission and like the academy or anything, they usually just like put you to death. So his story is very high stakes as well, and I actually really enjoyed this one. The romance in this one is also very subtle. I've been really loving very subtle romance fantasy books, so I would highly recommend the series. It was so bingeable, so easy to read and keep up with, and our characters are either very lovable or very hateable. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I finished Crooked Kingdom. I absolutely loved this book. Basically, it picks up with the last book where we are now dealing with the consequences of that first deal gone wrong. And like it's just so chaotic, so messy, and I really enjoyed it. The banter is really good, very high stakes, lots of twists and turns, and their lives are like literally on the line for a majority of this book. I really love this one. I thought it was super fun. I love these characters. I love this little group of tight-knit criminals. Also the romance, again, so subtle. I ended up giving this book 5 stars. It was so fun, so fast-paced, and something different, so I really enjoyed it. And then we have Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I thought this book was so fun and magical and mystical, and I really loved like the folklore aspect and her like hunting down this local legend and this like alchemical heart. I thought this book was so fun. So many twists and turns as well. Stephanie Garber does her classic thing where you never know who to trust all the way up until the very end. Like there's so many like twist between the characters. It's so good. Although I do feel like there was a couple of unfinished like characters or like storylines and like stuff that kind of could have been filled in a little more. Other than that, I really enjoyed it. I thought the writing was fun and fast-paced and just typical Stephanie Garber, so I ended up giving this book 4 stars as well. And then the last book I have to talk about for November is Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. I thought this book was so cute. We're still following Wes and Liz. However, we're now following them in college, and something happened their first year of college where Wes had to go home and they ended up breaking up. So in this book, we're basically watching Wes chase after Liz in college now, and she's kind of got this whole fake dating thing going on to throw him off. I thought this book was really cute, but there's also topics of Wes and his grief and his struggling financially and mentally. So I thought this book was really good, very well-rounded, and I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. So those are all of the books that I read in October and November. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts, or if they're on your TBR, I would love to hear that as well. Otherwise, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 9.